All right, my dudes. Let's get into this. I know a few of you guys were expecting a awesome build tonight, and I really want to get to that build with you guys. But right now, this is taking precedence on making sure that I have enough and good data in here. It's been a lot of work to get this done, trying to do some day job stuff, trying to get the mining farm content put together, trying to get the 14 card build that I've been tweeting out to you guys built and set up. But this, we need to make sure that you guys are aware of what's going on tomorrow, what's going on in the community tomorrow, when we're talking about the EIP-1559. And then really kind of the perspective that I'm bringing, hopefully, to the group tomorrow when it comes to the miners' perspective, and then the miners, the risk of the network, like if it's too abrupt, given a couple scenarios. The point of the model that I put together here, and it's still kind of work in progress. We're going to go through and actually fix a few things while we're in here tonight. But the majority of the structure is set up. The forecasting in there is partially done. I think there needs to be some adjustment on particular scenarios where we know what will happen with regards to if price is low, yield is low, hash rate will start to subside. But that being said, it will subside to the point of an equilibrium based on a certain price point of what it costs for power. So there's some algebra that needs to be added to it to calculate that, for we can figure out what the hash rate would probably go to based on a particular kilowatt rate. But again, that's a few columns to do that algebra. That way it's not just like nested in this complex formula for you guys are like, I don't understand how this is calculated. I wanted to kind of start to get to that algebra separately when we start to get into trying to figure out what's an equilibrium price point and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a lot of proof of work networks for people that are not aware of how mining has an effect on the difficulty. Difficulty has an effect on the yield that you will get for your hash power. There's a couple other figures in there that are contributing factors on your yield when it comes to what pool you're part of, what's the probability of that pool when in blocks with regards to the amount of hash power they have. Is it proportional? What's their amount of blocks that they've won over a period of time? And is it proportional to their hash rate, that sort of thing. So there's like pool luck and stuff. I'm not putting that in this. I'm assuming all pools would be 100%. I want to put that disclaimer. Actually, I'm going to put that disclaimer in right up here, which is not really a disclaimer. I'm going to put assumptions. So the section, one of the sections that's missing in this spreadsheet is assumptions. And we're just going to put that for right now in there of saying all pools contributing hash rate are equal to 100% luck. So assumptions are good because it lets people understand how the model functions. So let me give you guys a quick, we're gonna let a few more people get in here, and I'm gonna go through the model. I'm gonna go through some of your guys' questions too tonight. Again, it looks like there's about 94 people or so. I don't know if it says 99 viewers. Maybe this is all it tells me that's in here. I could have sworn earlier today I saw that the model had over 200 people in it. We have blown through a lot of the API calls that we had. We have completely rewritten the backend between Todd. BBT Todd did most of the heavy lift on this to help out. I was making sure that we had the API set up right originally, and then had a lot of the calculations of how the math works on this in there and nested. But he had been working a lot of hours on trying to make sure that we had the right more efficient API call structure in here to make this to where we could make it available to more people and didn't have to shut it down or try to raise money for it or anything like that. Like, we were trying to make sure that this is a big open source document for everybody. And I think we got it dialed into a point now that is not making thousands of calls per second. We're essentially making a few calls. And in that has a much larger string that is grabbing all the information for us. And then we're posting that to a single page. You guys will see that in the model over here. If you're taking a look, I've tried to make sure none of this is hidden. Let me bring this to where you can see with the camera. So there is an API calls tab here. It's kind of all the way to the right if you're in here. And essentially we're going and fetching a few things. Like I've said, I'm going to do a couple other, I'm going to actually do a whole bunch of different proof of work mining coins in this sheet. And we're going to, kind of bang out all of their particulars when it comes to block numbers, reward heights, essentially everything that needs to be pulled to calculate stuff, like anything else, max supplies, all that kind of stuff. And then we will have like a community sheet. So this is a lot of information that's being provided to everybody via crypto marketplace and like coin market cap and coin compare and what to mine and a lot of the websites that provide this. And I'm not trying not to alienate anybody from going to those websites. The GUIs are nice and all that, but for me to model data, I needed the data and I needed a static place to sit there and go and do the calculations on. So that's why this spreadsheet came together. I'm just trying to make it available to everybody to use. I'm not trying to get like a handout or anything on it. I'm just trying to make sure that it's the right kind of data for the stuff that we do on, crypto mining. So under the tab EIP scenarios, what I was trying to accomplish with this is make sure that we look at all the various possibilities, like a kind of a full scope of what could happen. And I'm probably missing other scenarios here. Again, this is a broad stroke across a few different dimensions. So if we look at the top left, the way you read this workbook, one of the scenarios, a high price. Now, right now, if I'm considering current price, and I know we've pulled back some, I think it's around $1,400 or something right now. But I was looking at like current price being around 1,800 or so is where the current price would be. So we start talking high price. That means over a period of the next few months, price keeps going up its current trend. That will increase. And then the high volume piece on Ethereum means that more fees are going to be generated. So when we've had the last few days where we've had a price pullback, we've also had a huge amount of volume, which has increased the yields for anybody mining Ethereum right now. So there's been a significant, there was block rewards all the way up to 100 coins per block. There was a few transactions that went through almost in triple digit. One definitely went through as a triple digit, and some that were very, very high numbers. And the 2-hour average during some of those high peaks was like 25 coins per block. That's a lot of Ethereum being produced and moved, or not being produced. There's only 2 Ethereum produced every 15 seconds, but it's the amount of Ethereum changing hands to miners that are participating. Their yields are going to be a lot higher for that kind of situation. So that's what I mean by high volume. So you got a high price, so you have a curve that is bringing the price up, price discovery, and then you have also high volume followed with that. You're kind of in the best of both worlds. If you're a miner, you got a high price and you got high volume, which is resulting in higher transactions. The high price, low volume means that pretty much transactions are around yield or current projected block reward yields, which would be like what Ethereum was almost pretty much its entire life, besides since around May of this last year, when DeFi really started pushing up the transaction amounts and sizes, causing a huge amount of fees, and then creating that race to the top when it comes to fee structures, which is why yields have been a lot higher, which is also why people started getting back pretty heavy into mining back in August of last year, when they saw that rolling wave of why the price was still at 300. You still had a higher amount of the amount of Ethereum that you were earning because the yields were higher. So you had a lot more participants come back into the Ethereum because the yields were higher. So you have scenarios like that where you have a low price, high yield. On this one would be like high price, low volume, where there's just not a lot of traffic and the yields are a little lower. Low price, low volume, which is kind of where we're starting to get into right now, like tonight, where the price is descending and there's not a lot of transactions. So like the block reward, I think right now, I really should pull block reward and all that in here right now. I don't have it on this sheet because it's not relevant with the current. But let's see here. If I go over here, we need to go over. If you navigate over here, we can go to model. The current block reward right now is not on that tab. It's forecast ETH. Here we go. Block reward right now, well, it's almost at 4. So current block reward's 4. I just went to that tab because it's easier to get to, because otherwise I have to hit the scroll to go over to the API call, but I might pull that in here tonight too. But if I come back here, so we're at about 4 cards. So we're about double what the typical block reward should be for Ethereum. So that's a higher yield. So we're still kind of in this lower price or flat price with about medium size volume, because it's about double what we're supposed to get. I still wouldn't put it at high volume. High volume would be those instances where we have 8 to 10 to 12 Ethereum per block. So you can read through. I'm not going to read through all of them. There is some kind of the upper and the lower spectrums of possibilities where we have like extremely low price, extremely high price, where I'm talking like $10,000 Ethereum. Like if something goes to the moon, what does that do for everything? Just to try to give us a broad stroke across the system. Now, the reference is just a shorter key for that, because quite frankly, when I'm trying to look at everything on the sheet, I wanted to have a reference over here under L of what that means, and then I create a key based on month and that reference to create the key and that's how it pulls this data over to the left, because all of these blue figures here are all formulas, and it's doing lookups, and I'm creating that key as part of the VLOOKUP. So just to give anybody that's like an Excel person, it's a lot like Excel. It's just doing a VLOOKUP, and I'm combining the references to do that. You guys can see the ranges. You can see how I'm calculating monthly yields. And my numbers are going to be a little lower just because I'm doing calculations based pretty much in real time, where a lot of the mining calculators, I mean, they're pretty close, but these yields will be a little lower. And there is an opportunity to probably make some more changes to this to be more in line with like something like What to Mine, but I'm pretty close to What to Mine website on their calculations. Maybe we'll get a few more iterations on and proofing the formula out a little further, and we can get really lockstep with them. But it's really close to what you should be earning. Again, it's going to come in a little lower, which is fine. I like setting expectations a little lower and then having that range if we can get to it, which is nice. The other parts of this, to let people understand, is I put kind of a risk factor based on what I'm saying. That risk factor will be predicated on what I'm assuming the risk would be if there's a big drop off in the ability to participate because the incentive has dropped so much, where you have like maybe a low price or a price that's descending, and then you have a high amount of volume, so the average yield is a lot higher, and the moment EIP-1559 hits, we would slap down to 2 ETH yield. So if we were averaging like 8 to 10 ETH per block, and it's now because the volume, there's a lot of traffic on there, but the price isn't, is either flat to low. We have this situation where you snap that yield. That's where a lot of the participants are making their yields from. And now you could have this disproportionate amount come off the network. That puts it at high risk with regards to if it's large enough, and then given the rest of the size of pie of the ecosystem of GPU miners, you have a situation where for the first time ever, Ethereum's in a position where it could get itself in a few of these scenarios, you'll see as I go through them, where it could possibly be a candidate that would be focused for a 51% attack or a reorg. And that's really where the whole point of all this modeling is seeing, is that even a remote possibility given you're messing with the rewards? And what scenarios put you into that situation, so then you can have kind of like a rolling wave that they can make this call to add an offset, meaning you bump up the reward by +1, so you move it from 2 coins to 1 or to 3 coins. You offset and you mitigate that risk, even though the EIP-1559 goes in as wholesale, and those times that there's block rewards of like 25 and such, that's burned, right? That continues to be burned based on EIP-1559. So you'll still have the burning feature in there. EIP-1559 goes in as it is. You're compromising with the ecosystem to ensure that you're offsetting the risk some, by having a more fixed higher fee, which I think is the median. That's the medium that I'm going to be pitching for tomorrow, of offsetting any risk that you have on a 51% attack on Ethereum. It's not worth racing to the bottom to pay for your security. And that's the pitch that I'm going to be really pushing for tomorrow, is that you're playing a gamble with a $500+ billion network, that's already under a huge microscope of scrutiny from a lot of the other participants right now in the space, and you're going to go and do a very a potentially controversial perspective of like a proposal, and still move forward, and put the network at risk. And it's not, Ethereum very quickly is becoming not immune to that because of the rapid growth of this industry. The entire environment now, when we look at the size of pie, of the amount of people that can, hold on right here. I think I got a feedback loop. Can you guys still hear me? All right. Here, I just reset my microphone. You have a situation where the size of pie of Ethereum now is at a point of, pushing 440 plus terahash. It's on a curve that there's going to, more people getting cards. There's NVIDIA bringing out the HX series cards. You have, they're coming out in first quarter. Nobody knows how many they're shipping. You could have a situation where the current hash rate, and what I have over here is this increase over here that we're going to adjust tonight, because some of these scenarios will have the hash rate decrease just naturally when rewards are not high enough. People are going to come off the network, right? So some of these scenarios have increases where they shouldn't have increases, and I need to fix that. So that's a known issue right now with this sheet. But when I look for the past like 6 months, I've been looking over the compounding amount of hash rate that's grown. And when you essentially highlight this and go down, you can see down here. So like the last 6 months, 7 months, we're looking at about a compounded about 37.5 to 40% increase on total hash rate. Upwards of almost, if you take it all the way back to August, it's we doubled the hash rate. In Ethereum. So I just left it at about 7.5% because that's kind of the rate of growth right now, with some months being as high as 12-13%. But when you average it out over the time, it's about 7.5% increase month over month. So I've left that in there, and then some of these ones that we need to decrease, we'll adjust some of these models. However, the bigger picture is that more hash rates coming online, and there's still a lot of room to grow because the profitability is still pretty high. So my argument that I'm going to be presenting tomorrow is, because of the way these EIPs come out, that this comes out in June, we're looking at potentially a 700 plus. I was originally forecasting around 500. I think we're going to blow right past that because of some of the newer GPU stuff coming out with the HX series and NVIDIA. We don't know if AMD is going to release a more efficient high-end version of to compete in that space. They should be competing with NVIDIA, with the new RDNA 2 technology. They're stacked there to compete with NVIDIA. Since they're putting out mining cards, I can't imagine AMD won't do the same thing. So now we have a potential hash rate amount that will come out, and it will chase those profits up to a point of equilibrium. So we're looking potentially at a 700 plus terahash total system, on Ethereum to equalize those prices. And if the prices stay flat, it's still profitable. Which means now if it snaps off and we drop pretty significantly, we'll have an issue where we have a potential of 700 plus terahash on the system. And then if that knocks off, 400 or 500 terahash, if it's strong enough, if we have a steep price drop, there are a few scenarios in here where we could see that hash rate come off that much. And now the size of pie is at 700. If Ethereum falls down around 400 terahash, now you have 300 terahash that is looking for somewhere to go or being turned off. And in the totality between Raven and a few of the other coins out there that have 150 plus terahash in the combining amount of power, and when you talk Zell, you talk all the other cryptocurrencies that you can mine, you now have a potential to where the right set of circumstances are in place where Ethereum is vulnerable. Because so much has been forced deployed now. You've had a forced projection of a growth period, and you're going to have a lot of abandoned miners. It's not Ethereum's problem. There is no social contract. And they could completely still just not have to worry about any of that and move forward with EIP-1559. But I want to make sure that they're aware that with this growth, there is a potential. And if there's a potential and the scripts are in place and people have done and attacked these networks, this isn't theoretical. These are facts. The facts are ETH Classic got attacked 4 times. Ravencoin's been 51% attacked. Most of every cryptocurrency that didn't have some kind of measure inside of its algorithm to adjust dynamically on difficulty or create a very hard exponential on if it starts to see a change in hash rate, it's been attacked. And Ethereum is still I would call it like a type 1. Well, it's probably a type 2, because if you have SHA-256 is the first type of algorithm used in cryptocurrency, and then script. Ethereum's, memory hard. It's like a type 2 type of algorithm, and it has, several coins have been attacked that has Ethash. So the scripts are out there. The know-how is out there. The incentive may become out there, especially if we're talking nefarious actors or people that want to knock off Ethereum from being the second largest crypto network on the planet, and have every incentive in the world if they're a competing chain. And it's not even that the Polkadots of the world or Cardano or any of them would ever do anything like that, but somebody that's long one of those currencies that has a large investment that doesn't play by the rules all the time, if given the opportunity, and then the opportunity cost is $20-30 million to pay 2 times the hash rate cost, and then now you have this natural evolution because miners have no social contract. That world swings both ways, right? You have this situation where without even them knowing that they're mining this particular algorithm, they're unbeknownst to them attacking Ethereum, and it will only take 1 block reorg. It will only take 1 block depth to undermine a lot of effort that has happened over 5 years with Ethereum. And I don't want to see that. I want to see them progress to 2.0. And this is the concern. There's other things to mine. Miners have no social contract. We will work out. We are long the cryptocurrency ecosystem from proof of work. We are not long specific coins. And that's a big distinction when it comes to GPU mining. You are looking to uphold networks. For that upholding, you are compensated in a token. We are long our hardware and our space and our ops cost and paying employees and that sort of thing. We are taking a hardware approach at the ecosystem to uphold networks and give them security. And if there's a situation where there's a higher rate of return on something, most people go to that, but there are risks. And I'm going to tell you, when investors are looking at their pocketbooks, they are looking at yield. They are not looking at the good of Ethereum. Let's make sure we don't send it to a broker. And it's just not the right way to think about it. and the risk is there. And that's why this model exists. So I'm off my little soapbox there for that particular piece. Let's get into the data. Let's look into this, and then some of the fixes that still need to occur in this to make it a more cleaner model, to make it more representative of what happens when certain things like, you know, high price, low volume, what occurs when it comes to a hash rate and those particular scenarios, because those are still not fully modeled out. But to give you guys some movement on this, to show you how it works. So in this has a GPU selector. This has most of the modern GPUs. It's the single GPU to give you an idea of like, is it, you know, profitable for a particular GPU, a commercial farm, a large farm. I even put the BBT farm in there. You know, we put a few ASICs in there, which is a little different argument. We'll talk about that towards the end of this. But, you know, if we talk like a small farm would be about 210 gigahash. I mean, I'm talking a small commercial farm. And then what happens, so you can choose that and it will automatically dynamically change these. The top and the bottom difference here between the months is, this is if nothing's changed and things go status quo based on the model selection type. Now the model selection type here, which I have enough room here, so I'll probably add the actual full scenario name, but the model type here is the key here. So you can use some basic logic to look at it and say LP is low price, low volume, LV, right? So it's all about price and volume. So you can choose one. So if we look at a scenario like low price, low volume, commercial small farm, what happens to you know, the ecosystem here when you would have a change? Well, in this particular scenario, not much changes with EIP-1559. If you have a situation where the price continues to go low, and you have a situation where the yield is not out there because there's not a lot of DeFi action going on right now, and it goes back down to normal Ethereum volumes that was pre like DeFi, which I don't think personally it will ever get back to. I think it's going to remain at least at that 3.5 to 4 coins per block totality. The 2 extra ETH per block right now, just in transactions that are occurring, even in low volume times right now. But in this case, you would have a yield where right now we're at about 3.1 per block per month, and then it slowly starts to descend, and now we're back to a normal, the 2 ETH reward plus 0.1 total transactions. Well, when EIP-1559 comes in, you would see, even if the hash rate was going up to 73 gigahash or 73 terahash, you would have a situation where there's hardly any net monthly change. There's about $4,000 in this case, in this particular farm, right? It goes from 34,000 to 30. It goes from 65,000 to 54. It's not a huge change with regards, because the yields already were self-fixing themselves, right? The scenario played out to where there's not a lot of traffic on it, and there's not a lot of transaction to burn. But if we switch this to a low price, so LP high volume, so let's flip it to where, let's say price continues to go down, but then our volumes go still crazy, kind of like the last few days where we've had extreme high volume. And let's say that just exacerbates over time, like more and more gets on it, there's more competition, there's new tokens that are maybe dropped on it to try to invigorate price, more airdrops, more people are doing stuff to try to get some stuff up. And let's say we have a model yield, and I think this is a little aggressive. I think 10 is kind of probably not going to happen when it comes to a monthly average. I need to adjust that, and I will adjust that in the sheet. I'm going to actually put a note here for I make sure I do that. Adjust high volume yields to max of, let's say, 7. Let's go 8. So I'm gonna here. Let's go over one here for I can actually read it. So I'll make that adjustment in there because I think 10's probably out of the question. But if we have a situation where, in that case, where we have all the way into September, price gets all the way down to $800, but yields are just really high because there's a lot going on with DeFi. You still have a huge amount of monthly revenue coming in for a farm. EIP fit, in that kind of case, you would have a significant drop with if it went from one of these high yield, high volume activities, and now you're burning all those. You have a direct impact on doing that because it's not being made up. Now, a large farm like this probably going to be okay, right? Maybe they'll have to turn off some stuff if they go from making 300 a year or 300 a month, 300K a month to drop into 50K a month. I mean, they may have to cut staff or do whatever they have to do to try to make it a little more leaner. But this is transcended across the network, right? Again, no social contract. Nobody's expecting, you have to adjust to pay for the miners. But if it puts the network at risk, this is a cause that the network's having. So the effect could be where you push off too much hash rate and now you're putting yourself at risk from an attack. So this is the balance that I'm trying to make sure that we get to understand the difference. And in almost every one of these scenarios, just plugging in that number from 2 to 3, you've effectively knocked out pretty much every scenario in this list, even the extreme ones, where you have something like extreme low price and extreme low volume, where you snap everything down. You get a large farm that pretty much right away, if price gets down to, like when I'm saying extreme, I went to the lowest extreme that's happened in the last couple of years, right? $86. Don't think it will go there, but stranger things have happened in crypto. And then you have the volume get back to normal. EIP-1559 doesn't fix anything with this scenario, right? Because if we're already at a low volume where we're only using 2 ETH, I don't think that's going to be a thing. But the 1559 just drops it to 2 flat. So, I mean, nothing could be fixed on this. This is purely the farms are hurting because they overbuilt and the network didn't support the price, and it collapsed back down. And a lot of farms got into this situation in this last year when there was a lot. I mean, our farm, BBT farm, was turned off. We turned it off. We just powered it off, and just paid, the bills that are required there to uphold it from just the basic power and keeping lights on and security and all that. But like, we were turned off right when it was $86 Ethereum, because the power cost on something that's 50 gigahash is from 12 to 14,000 a month. So you would be paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month in power costs to still get a yield, right? So farms have to deal with this every day. This is not Ethereum's problem, right? And that's not what I'm trying to say to it. I'm saying in situations that put them in a scenario, the risk is that it's built up and it gets into a scenario like this where you have a lot of activity on Ethereum, which we know is happening. A lot of transactions are out there and they're getting shared with the network right now. And then you get a situation where you have a descending price, but a high yield. You immediately go into taking I'm not saying that you have to back a farm up or anything, but you go from where you're in May before it, and then to June where you're at 150K a month, and then you immediately go to 15,000 negative, right? Like, that's the kind of impact that can occur pretty quick if you go from, like in this scenario where you're at like the mining yields being closer to 5 because there's a lot of traffic. People are trying to get out of their DeFi. Prices are descending. And you're immediately going from like 150K to 15K. And if you have a small farm, this could be 1,500 to losing 1,500, right? So you're going to turn off the net of it is you're going to power down, and you're going to power down, and the net hash comes off, and then you have this discrepancy of potential hash power that's out there, and then what was. In the previous last years of this is been the lowest points have never pulled enough hash rate to get close, because the highest potential ever was about 200 terahash. And if we go out to like Etherscan, I'll give you an example here. Etherscan.io, we come in here and go into charts and statistics. We scroll down and we just look at the network hash rate. So when we had the run up in 2018, that net hash rate hit a peak of almost 300 terahash. And then when it went to its lowest periods, it settled down. The network contracted like it's supposed to. And let me bring this over here for you guys can see this. It contracted like it's supposed to. Equilibrium happened. Everything worked out the way it's supposed to. Enough hash rate came off. Some stuff went to other programs. Some other stuff went out. But we have a different scenario here where the potential has flown up. We're over around 440 terahash, and this number is going to continue to grow because we have a dedication from NVIDIA bringing out the HX series. We have AMD that's for sure going to participate in it. Most of the RTX lineup out there, you got tons of people getting into it. And this is going to continue to grow. We don't know how much hash power is coming out there. And this is both ASIC and the ASICs that are on the system and GPUs. So if this number goes to close to 700, and we have scenarios out there where price doesn't follow, and the thing that is a fact that's going to occur is yield is going to get slashed. So if there's still a ton of activity on DeFi, and that's what some of these scenarios are showing, you have a ton of activity on DeFi, and our average block in DeFi is now getting close to 5 coins per block, which is not completely out of the question, especially as more time gets on into this year with more releases and more features and more hot competition on NFTs and everything. And then we slip to a 2 with a descending price. We're betting the farm on risk that change is going to immediately affect price, which has never occurred, not even in Bitcoin during halvings. It always the price leads after like 6+ months, right? There isn't a time that the halving happens and there's a pump. There might be a little buying of the news before it, but it kind of settles out and then price starts to fix because you have this natural growth situation where you truly have a reduction in supply available, and then it catches back up. So there won't be, all of the math that's out there isn't showing that price is immediately going to flip up when this happens. You're going to have the moment the decision is finally made and EIP-1559 is going to go in, I would think that there's going to be a buying of that news, but it could be a selling of the event. So and I'm not even calculating that chance, right? I'm just looking at math on what the hash rates are, what the probabilities of them coming, from a yield and impact to cost to real miners, and real yields on how much particular cards give, and then the potential of what we see on the network, right? I'm trying to base all of this on numbers that we were seeing and then some forecasts that can absolutely be changed. But no matter how we change that kind of narrative, the facts are the facts. If it disproportionately, because not of anything that Ethereum's responsible for on price, cuts a situation like this where you have an immediate, May to June here, or, I have July. I'm actually missing June. I need to copy June in. We have one more month there. I need to fix that. Fix June on EIP range. I'm missing June. We'll have that where it's showing you that big impact, and that's going to translate once we do the math on what's it take to get it back up to equilibrium, because there will be hash rate that comes off, so a certain amount of hash rate will be left on Ethereum, right? So in this kind of scenario, these net hash rates will not be 632, 680, and 731. It's not going to continue to go up. It's going to go down, actually, to where this number becomes closer to 0. And that's the other part that I'm missing in this model that I will fix for us. But that's going to give us a better target hash rate of where it's going to go to. And then if the potential is X and it drops to a certain equilibrium, because mind you, people are not doing this for their health, it will slowly work its way to the best power rates. Right? If you had something like Bitcoin, you have a race to the scenario to where your ops cost is really close to what your costs are to operate. The rate that you're paying for your power and your ops cost, there's a race to trying to have the most efficient, because people can build machines and more specific, ASICs, because Bitcoin's not changing the algorithm. Ethereum's going to eventually change the algorithm. So for like the ASIC side, they're taking a more calculated risk. They're also looking at this kind of scenario, which benefits an ASIC that's more efficient because it's going to be able to compete without so much competition as much because you're going to have the competition come off. There's a whole bunch of game theory when it comes into like, do you buy an ASIC? Do you pay a higher amount because a lot of the GPUs are going to fall off on this kind of scenario? Which I'm not calculating here, but you can come in here and hit the ASIC on. You can come in here and choose like what an ASIC looks like in this scenario. And this is what I mean by yield. So like in this scenario where you had like large GPU farms and really efficient setups are actually can't compete with like an ASIC on this scenario. So if I look at a Silicon A11 at 2.1 gigahash and its power cost, it's actually profitable through even this, extremely low price, high volume scenario where you have kind of a fall off. And a lot of these show you guys, I try to make sure that I could represent this in graphics here to show you kind of like that fall off of the trend. Graphically, let's look at, large farm where you have kind of a descending drop there. And then you have scenarios where it's high price, high volume, where your potential on like commercial farms a little crazy, but let's try like something that's more like a single modern rig, to where potentially you're going to have these like the yield is going to be, as you have a higher yield going and you have a high price. Let's say this is like $6,000 by September price on Ethereum with high yields. You have that fall off there. You're going from pretty much $1,600 a month down to $800. It's halving your potential there. All right, I talked a lot. I've pretty much talked for 40 minutes straight. I'm going to look at some questions because I haven't been watching the questions. You guys have the link below, and you guys can see the thing there. I need to add this little one more month here, and you guys can see it. I have obviously a few things I'm going to add here. It says, I don't know if it says 99 viewers. I don't know if you guys are in it. Is anybody having problems with getting into the sheet? And what do you guys think about this? I mean, obviously I got to change a few of the descending things like I was saying on the algebra side, but hopefully this helps. Let's see here. I'll scroll up and see. Oh, we had a super chat come in from Michael Walker. Thank you, sir, for those at $20. Well, I'll put that into buying some more API bandwidth here. Can you make your own Discord? I have my own Discord, and I heard the link isn't working. We'll fix that in this video at the bottom. You can't get in. Okay. Jimmy Odom says, this seems about increasing ETH Foundation's big bag. Well, I mean, I think anything that's trying to, when you try to artificially mess with the price, usually bad things occur. The market usually does the exact opposite on you. Michael Walker for the API. So you guys are confirming you guys can't get into this sheet? Some tools might not be available due to heavy traffic to this file. Okay. So what we're going to do after this, make sure if you're sharing this video, just tell people to look in the description. What I'm going to do after this is I'm going to publish this as a web page after this for you guys can get to it. So we'll publish this as a website or a web page, and then I'm going to put the link below for you guys. Discord's not working also. Okay, I'm going to fix both of those. I'm going to make a separate notepad for that. Fix Discord. Publish as web site. So we'll fix both of those. Cheats working for you. Yeah, I think it has a hard limit now. So what's the basis of just asking for just one ETH? So the basis is that it offsets all of these scenarios when it comes to the amount of hash power that would come off of ETH. So in every one of these scenarios, it's offsetting every scenario to where I don't think enough hash power will come off of ETH if the block reward's at 3 is what it comes down to. I think it sets the current glide path of profitability for enough of the hash power that's on there to where they're paying a little more for their hash power on a fixed rate and not just inheriting the current security that they have from everybody paying or everybody's been getting essentially that or more, and that's what's been helping drive up the amount of hash power on Ethereum. So hash power will come off of Ethereum, but it will not come off in the amount that will put it at risk. That's the bottom line, because I don't think there's any getting out of I think the community as a whole are sold on slashing the fees and burning them because Ethereum has had a since the first out of cycle drop of reward from 5 to 3 and then 3 to 2, it's been the same exact philosophy where there is a thought that because there has been no competition on the hash rate, that why would they want to keep inflating it at the rate that it's been inflated when there's no competition close to it. That is all completely unbalanced when there is competition, which there is becoming more and more competition with regards to Ravencoin. Ravencoin hit a point to where it was 22 cents from being able to dislodge 50% of Ethereum's hash rate. That's another thing that I'm going to bring up. If Ravencoin pushes up to 50 cents a coin, it could dislodge half of Ethereum's hash rate, just wholesale. And that's just math. It's 5,000 coins per 1 minute block at 50 cents. It could take a large portion of that. And now Ethereum has real competition. At the end of the day, everybody could be like, why do we care about that? Well, why do you care about it is all the size of pie, the total crypto community. And now if you have this disproportionate amount of hash power that can come off of Ethereum through a forced action, Ethereum becomes highly at risk if that hash rate keeps growing with another coin and Ethereum doesn't implement a 51% resistant mechanism in their algorithm. Like, it's not that it's not possible. It's absolutely possible. And it's absolutely happened to every single cryptocurrency out there. So Ethereum isn't necessarily the going to be the big block, big guy on the block if some of these other proof of work coins that are long proof of work continue to grow in value also. It's not discounting that Ethereum is not going to continue to grow in value. Ethereum could get to 10,000 and try to take most of the hash rate until it goes to proof of stake. It's just the sets of circumstances that are out there and that it has to deal with. And what Ethereum should only care about is total potential net hash. That's all it should care about. It shouldn't care about anything else when it comes to proof of work. And are you positioned at the right level from a security standpoint to where that total net hash is never incentivized to attack your network? And it's not that anybody out there, the majority of individuals and people out there are not trying to attack Ethereum. They could care. They don't. It's a disincentive too. But there is mechanisms in place and brokers in place that can then set a price point that people point their hash rate to, because they're just service providers and that are paid in a token with their hardware investment, that it could get out of balance and Ethereum is attacked. And it only will take one block reorg to then really hit its confidence. And I don't want to see that. Bottom line, I don't want to see that. If I was the mean, dirty old miner trying to not have our reward slash, I would be fighting EIP 1559 from a burn and slashing standpoint. And at first I was fighting it from, I was like, no, that's a horrible idea. But I was doing it from a horrible idea of saying, not having the model in front of me going, you're going to put the network at risk. And for what? Like, why would you do that? Like, nobody ever operates with, I want to pay the least amount for security, besides people that end up having bad things happen to them, right? It's like a bad engineering decision. Like, I don't want to pay the least for security. I want to pay an efficient amount for security, but I want the right data in front of me, and I want to do the right modeling to make sure I'm paying the right. And I need to adjust if it gets into a scenario to where I might be at risk. And that's what I'm raising up here. I'm saying, do the math, adjust the numbers, try to figure out what the growth rate is. But we're now in new territory. We're at all-time high hash rates. We're going to continue to grow. You got two of the largest graphics card companies on the planet, one of which just announced an entire dedicated mining line, which is going to drive up net hash, which is the potential. So if we're going to play a game of potential hash rate, you are now at risk. And if Ravencoin gets a price bump from this, or from just in general, because people are disenchanted with something with what's being decided with Ethereum, and they move over and they push another coin up, and now that hash rate stays on there, there's additionally more hash rate, being in the ecosystem. And just every result that's occurred, where if Ethereum doesn't implement either an ASIC or not ASIC resistance, but a 51% attack resistance, if it's what ETC did, if it's Gravity Well, if it's any of the other kind of features, then it can pay less for security, and it can implement a feature that prevents a 51% attack. So that would be having their cake and eating it too. If you're trying to artificially drive up incentive, you would say, we're going to go with EIP 1559, and we're not increasing the block reward, and we're going to implement a 51% resistant feature, because this, proposed evidence is putting us into a place that it might make sense, and because of that, we don't want to pay for more issuance, but we will put in a feature. So that could be the counterpoint that comes out of this, is where they're not going to increase the block reward, but they will put an ASIC, they will put a resistance feature on the algorithm, and then that would also help mitigate it, right? And then I think that would then give it it's kind of like a protection to ensure that nefarious use of brokerages don't get an attack vector on Ethereum when it implements this yield hit. And then all that's left at the end of the day after that is miners' rewards are slashed, right? Miner rewards are slashed. They don't need to pay that much. The fees are burned. You now have this potential where you have a deflationary action in Ethereum when it comes to its total supply, because the 2 coin reward every 15 seconds is getting outweighed by the 4 or 2. Even if it's right now, if we look at right now, the reward where you have +2 moving around on top of the 2 reward, those 2 are getting burned. So even on a minimum low volume set, we're burning essentially and becoming net neutral. And in situations like the last few days where we've had 25 to 50 coins per block, like in these crazy Hive transaction volume times, you got potentially 50 coins on some blocks coming off the supply. So, and I know the metric that'll be touted a lot is going to be how much did we burn? And that's fine if you're trying to push price through artificial methods. But you're using it's just slashing a miner is all it does. So it's alienating that mechanism out of the mining group, and mining will survive. Mining will move on, or it'll adjust, or it will contract for some time to see if another mining coin comes out, right? Or it grows to a value to where it makes sense. But the incentives, we're talking incentives here. We're talking the risk on the network of incentives, and I'm presenting a perspective that could impact the network. They hate you, miners. I think some people had misconceptions of what miners do, and I think there's been some bad actors here in the space because they've chased the game theory side of it and attacked networks, double spent on some networks, and it gets a bad name. The people, it's the risk factor where there's like never again. You got a couple bad actors that's burned the system a few times, and by and large, miners, especially with Ethereum miners. A lot of folks don't understand that a lot of Ethereum miners are like just normal folks that have went out and bought hardware and have taken a long position on the hardware side and mine Ethereum and get Ethereum, and not a lot of them sell all their Ethereum. Some people just pay the power cost, absorb the cost of the machinery, and are going long on ETH. So even a scenario like this, to where if the price moves with this artificial activity of slashing and burning, it's long for them too. So they were holders, and then they benefit from that too. It's just it's a decision point. But again, I wanted to do a quick stream with you guys. I mean, I can talk forever on this kind of stuff, but there's a few things I need to fix on this model. I'm going to get it published for more people can interact with it. I'm sorry if you guys are impacted and you guys can't get into it. We have like 400 plus people on this right now. We have about 94, it says in there. So if you haven't clicked the link down there, it looks like you have room to get in there. About 6 of you. It might be hard limiting it now to 100 people per instance, maybe. But if I'll take some questions for a little bit. I mean, there's 400 plus of you guys in there. I don't know who's all here. Is there anybody from Ethereum in here? From like the development community? You guys have any questions? Again, I'm trying to be as pragmatic as I can about this. I hope that there can be some concession here, that if EIP-1559 does move forward, that there is opportunity to possibly move that block reward up +1. I think it'll mitigate a lot of this, but we'll see. Good look. The call tomorrow is at 8 a.m. Central time, Eastern time. I don't know. I got an invite. I keep thinking that I remember it. I think it's Central time for me. I think it's 9 a.m. Eastern. I think. I don't know. That's my next list, is to make sure I got the Zoom, and then I'm going to make the call on time. Yeah, it's 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know what kind of answers we're going to get from them. I just, hopefully I get enough time to, I'm not going to be able to present the model evidently, but I'm going to point back to this video to them, and I'm going to just talk the major points. I can talk for a long time. Obviously, I just did this for an hour with you guys, but hopefully I get some cycles with them to like just talk the concern, and then that they'll have time. I mean, it's not happening tomorrow, right? I mean, like with regards to the final decision or anything like that. So hopefully they'll have the ability to go through this video, hear the points of argument, and live stream the call. I am not personally live streaming it, so I want to make sure I am fully focused on the call. It is going to be on the Ethereum Foundation's YouTube channel, I believe. So I am going to reshare, and I'll see if I can rehost it, but like it doesn't really work like Twitch, so I don't know if I can rehost it, but I think EIP 1559 is a done deal. Well, I mean, I know a lot of the sentiment out there from folks. Sentiment? I said sediment. It's not dirt on the bottom of something. It's I think that the general consensus is a better word, I guess, from the developers and community folks out there, or regardless if they've went into detail of trying to understand it, they want to move forward with it. This purely is just showing like, hey, you're doing it at a risk if you don't offset it. So the ETH corporates don't care. You know, I would think that if I had a huge vested interest in ETH, that any potential scenario that puts my network at risk, I would want to hear it. You need sleep, BBT. That's why I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna go to bed tonight here, probably after this, and make sure I'm rested and ready for the call tomorrow. I'll be getting up early. I'm just hoping I can represent you guys well. I've worked a lot to make sure I'm, I have enough content and detail to talk to on behalf of the mining space for you guys, and just being a participant in it too. And this is a big decision. I mean, it's a big decision. There's dollars and cents that occur here that are gonna impact miners. A lot of this driving is at the expense of miners. Short of a few scenarios where we have expansive price growth, and in those scenarios it works out very well. It's just you lose that potential. So I'll example this, where you have high price, extremely high price, extremely high volume, to where on this particular single modern rig, you might be earning, if the yields went up to like 10 ETH a month, or 10 ETH per block, because there's just so much traffic on it, because the price pumps to $10,000, right? So I'm modeling out that the price pumps to 10K, and there's just so much momentum on that it wouldn't take much ETH, the amount of ETH that people are spending for transaction rewards, because now ETH's worth 10 grand. You would drive yields way, way up, right? So you go from a potential of making 8 grand a month on a single rig, right? And then immediately it is slashed to like 1,000. Like, that's an 8x drop because the yield drops, right? The yield drops a lot, from 8 coins per block to 2 in that case, right? That's an extreme case. This is it's literally labeled extreme price, extreme volume. But in that case, it would be such a huge drop in participation value, even at 700 terahash, or 700 terahash. That's a bottom line impact, right? Miners at the expense of this are going to be impacted. There's no question about that. It's just more of, there's certain scenarios that lay that out, but like, there's not much we can do with it. I mean, if the community's behind it, it's just, we're going to be the bottom of the totem pole there. And we ultimately have the decision to either support the network or move on, if given different opportunities. So we have no social contract as it's used to us from the network participant. This goes with any network, not just Ethereum. We have the ability to freely participate and freely leave, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So in the same regards, if that kind of thing occurred and your profitability dropped to 1,600 a month and you were earning 8 in that crazy scenario, that may make you move your hash rate over, even though you could still be making 1,600. What I'm trying to convey is, you may not stay with Ethereum. You still may lose that hash rate from somebody, because now Ravencoin can absorb it, right? Or some other coin can absorb it. So you may still lose that hash power because people are long cryptocurrency, not necessarily long and brand specific. Now, there are, like with any kind of brand thing, there's brand specific situations where people will only mine it and they don't care, and they're long it. And there's a lot of people that do that. There's people that have done it with mini coins. I know people that's been doing, before some of the coins went to ASICs like ZEC. I knew a lot of people that were super long ZEC, and all they would mine, even though they were not getting near the potential they could, they only mined it. And then, then certain things were done. Saya was another one people would mine a lot of. And And then they just kind of alienated the entire mining community and just built a couple very specific ASICs, and then they kicked all the GPU miners off. And now nobody talks really about Saya, right? I mean, it's when you have a force projection of 1 to millions of people that can participate in your network, and then you've created an event that disenfranchises a large majority of them potentially to not participate on your network anymore. There's a grassroots organic impact that's not felt initially, right? But the signal to noise that's created from like the GPU mining community is pretty loud, like with regards to people building rigs and sharing it with their friends and family and all this. It's a lot more specific, not so much large commercial facility. There are thousands of new people and participants that are mining Ethereum right now because the prices have went up and the yields are high. Tens of thousands. I mean, literally, I've told you guys, like, I have 25,000 plus emails in my email box. There's people asking questions and like, hey, I saw a video and I'm trying to understand something. And there's a lot of participants that the developers, that the ETH development community have no spatial awareness that are part of this community, like thousands of people. And, again, I keep saying no social contract, but there are effects to them moving to another network, and that other network will benefit from that grassroots movement moving over to them. Miners are part of that ecosystem, like it or not, and stakers will be that for Ethereum when it moves to proof of stake. And that's okay. I mean, people that are going to stake, they have a very systematic, direct connection to the particular coin when you're a staker. When you're a GPU miner, you are long all crypto, and you're looking at what's in front of you and what makes sense for your particular situation. If you're on Ethereum, you're on Zell, you're on VTC, Vertcoin, you're on Ubiq, you're on Raven. You're looking at the different ecosystems, and you can slide up and down that spectrum of which ones you're going to go with, predicated on all kinds of things, not just profitability. Most people do profitability, but against a whole bunch of different things. If you're a staker, you are locked onto that network and you are long that coin. So monetary policy changes when Ethereum goes full proof of stake. I mean, you think our community and the mining community is a little rambunctious bunch. Start making changes to people that are stuck to your currency directly and cannot slide back and forth without creating a taxable event to sell out, right? So there's going to be a lot more passion when you start messing with things that are more tied to the coin directly, because there's a lot more connected interest to the coin and its success when it comes to that. Which by hearing those words make you think, well, that means that's good. We have people that are locked to us. But what that also means is you're in the same home with them now. You got your arm around them. And if you make any changes, you got to explain to them why that's a lot more of an impact. With a miner, you can make a change like this slashing, and it's like, this is going to impact the bottom line, but there's other alternatives possibly, right? So, we can absorb the hit a little more. It's just at what risk do you do to the network now, and what risk do you do to the net hash risk of, like, now are you putting yourself in a position where you could be attacked because the price point comes up on certain things like brokerages, and now you have that attack vector. So I'm just trying to make people aware of it. And will support ultimately any of the decisions that move forward. If they've moved forward with it and they've heard the concern and they're going to take the risk, it is what it is. I've done what I can to make sure that people are aware of it. Yeah, BBT said Zell. This might be the most amount of viewers I've had in a minute. Pretty hot topic. All right, my dudes, I'll take a few more questions and then we'll wrap this one up. Hey, look. Say hi to everybody. I got some food. You're saying hi to 468 people. She had no idea I was live streaming. Uh, how about the big Asian players? I believe that they'll attack on their business model. Yeah, it's not about any individual group even. It's just about the network in general. It affects everybody equally. The man has to eat. Yeah, Miss BBT and the kiddos are home and had brought me a Sonic. So that is, I'm eating. Awesome, guys. I hope this was informative. We will get back to regularly scheduled programming after this. We got an amazing build to build with you guys on the 14 card rig, and we'll go to that after this call. Tomorrow, again, before everybody leaves, tomorrow night we're going to have a recap of the meeting. So after what happened, what some of the discussion points, it's with the community. So I think I put out a Zoom to most of the mining community. I haven't got a lot of feedback back from them. So Red Panda Mining, Voscoin, I don't know if he's going to join. We have pretty much everybody that was on the last call in some way. I need to reach out to GP Hoarder. I think he was a really good ad on that. And we're going to have a live stream tomorrow night. I think it's at 8 o'clock in the evening. I think it's what I said it for, 6 or 7 or 8. I'll retweet it. My mind is all on this, so timing right now is all flux. So we're going to have a call for you guys out there. And we'll just have just an open call. It's going to be just discussing what happened, what people's opinions of things were, and all that kind of stuff from the mining community. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow for that. And then that puts us into Saturday with the big build probably. So I'm sorry that you guys aren't seeing the 14 card, but I'll save it for you, I promise. So we'll be building that together. The case and rig is together. We're going to be putting a whole bunch of RTX 3090s, 3070s, and 3060 Ti's on that. It's a 14 card build. It should be awesome, and we'll see what it can do. But I will sign off now and get some rest, and hopefully you guys can join in tomorrow. I know some of you guys are working, but please join. Show your support. I want to see all 460 of you guys on that. I would love to see this call have thousands of people to let, like Ethereum Foundation on most of their meetings like this have like 200 people max. I want to see thousands of people. So share this, please share this video. Make sure people are there. If you are a miner or you have friends that are miners, this is an important call to listen to and hear, and hopefully we can hear some information. All right, my dudes. And Jay, I know you keep asking that question, buddy. You will hear that tomorrow, I believe. So, and please hit that like button. That helps the YouTube algorithm share this. So if you do anything, hit that like button right now, and then that will push this out to the YouTube community and make sure people see this video. So love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern.